Hey friends, welcome back. Let's not waste any time and let's get crafting. So for the first project, I start off with a tag from Dollar Tree as well as two large stir sticks. I get these stir sticks at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're really cheap. They're like 98 cents for three. And I just take this miter tool, I can't remember exactly what it's called, and I just cut those down. So once I have those cut down, I take the sticker off, I take my finger sander and sand that residue down, and then I clean up my surface with my handy dandy Dyson. I love this thing, you guys, and most of the tools that I use will be linked down below in my Amazon favorites. So I then just mark every 1.5 inches, and then I take this square from Dollar Tree and I just run my knife across a few times just to score it so that it kind of gives off the illusion that this is kind of like faux wood or pieces of wood, if that makes sense. But I just go along and I do that on every single place that I marked. I then just lay out my little sleigh how I want it, and then I take two small stir sticks. They're like the regular size stir sticks, and then I lay them out, mark it, cut those down as well. I then just take a piece of scrap, I glue it to the back where that hole is, and then I just take some of this lightweight spackling from Dollar Tree and I cover that hole up. I didn't want to be able to see it once I painted everything. So once I cover that hole, then I paint my stir sticks on both sides and the sides, as well as the front of our little sleigh. So once I have everything painted, then a lot of you guys have asked me if I paint the back of my projects. That way, if you sell it, then, it doesn't look so ugly. But this is one quick and easy way to cover up the back. You just take a piece of this brown paper. It comes in a roll from Dollar Tree. And then just cut a piece down. You can run a bead of hot glue around the edges and cut that down. And then boom, you're done. Your back looks much better than the ugly pattern that was on there. So for the front of my little sleigh, I wanted to use this Chalk Couture transfer. All the information for Chalk Couture is in the description box if you're interested, but I love this transfer and I wanted to use it one more time before the season is up. So I just fuzzed it on my fuzzing cloth. I laid it out where I wanted it, and then where I had done the little cut marks, I made sure to smooth down the transfer. That way when I go to chalk it, then it doesn't seep through those edges. But basically, I just lay out my colors wherever I want them. I use my squeegee to clean up those areas. And then for like the smaller details, I go in with my detail tool. And then I did the Santa just plain black. And then this is the magic. Once you are done and you pull away that transfer, how amazing these images are. You just cannot beat it. You cannot get this type of detail with a Cricut or doing it by hand. So that is one of my favorite things. But anyway, I did sand down the letters to make it look more rustic, and then I went in with my antique wax, and surprise, surprise, if you guys have been around, I use my little mini chip brush all the time because I love the way that this dry brushing looks. So just like I just did the front of our little sled, then I went ahead and I dry brushed all the way around this stir sticks. Now there's no rhyme or reason to this technique. I just do it as much or as little as I personally like. So as usual, anything that I do is a personal preference. So if you don't like the dry brushing, you don't have to do it. Or if you just like a toned down look, then you could do just a little bit less. But I like the effect that it gives, and it looks like old weathered wood. So anyway, once I did the dry brushing, then I just laid out the large stir sticks. I used my little pad with the measurements on it, and I just laid it out so that it was even. I ran some hot glue, I laid down the tag, and then glued the top piece where the smaller stir stick is, and then flipped it around and glued the other small stir stick right where the front one was. Next, I just took some greenery that I had from Michaels that I clipped off of a pick. I glued that down to the top. I made a simple bow. I glued that to the middle of the greenery, and then last but not least, I just unrolled some twine from the roll itself and cut it off so that way it was easier to wrap around. I flipped it over and tied it, and then I just took the jute and wrapped it around those two pieces at the top. I believe I wrapped it about 5 or 6 times. I then just glued I glued the back piece so that it would stay put, and then I kind of just made a loop. I laid it out so that I knew exactly how much that I wanted, kind of like for the handle on a sled. And then I repeated the same step on the other side, just wrapping it around 5 or 6 times. I cut it and then I glued it to the back piece so that it would stay in place. You guys, this was such a quick and easy craft. It was cheap to make, and the results that you get are so high-end looking. That's what I love about farmhouse decor from Dollar Tree items, is that you can get such a high-end look for not very much money, and that is what I am all about, cheap crafts. So anyway, I am in love with the way this turned out, like I said. Hey friends, in today's video it is the Friend Friday Hop, where me and a bunch of other wonderful creators get together and we are hosting a giveaway for you guys. So basically all you have to do to enter the giveaway is there will be a link in my description box, and then once you follow that link, then you will go to the next person's video, you will watch their video, and then follow the link in their description box to hop all the way around to each creator. Along the way, you're gonna leave a comment in everybody's comment section, let them know that I sent you, and then once you come back to me, then you will be entered into the giveaway. You have until Tuesday at midnight to enter, and then Wednesday we will all announce on our community tab who is the winner. So definitely make sure to go around to each video so that you are entered. Okay, so moving on to our second craft, I just went on my computer, I found a snowflake that I liked, and then I took a piece of foam board and traced it on with my Arteza graphite paper. Now, I will say that I didn't end up using this smaller one. I blew up the bigger one, and on Word, it's kind of wonky, so I just printed off half of it, and then I traced half and then laid it next to it and traced the other half, and then I just went in with my utility knife and I cut that out. It wasn't too hard and it didn't take too long, so do not get discouraged. But once I had it cut out, then I went in with my scissors and I just cleaned up any edge that was frayed or hanging off, and then went in with my little mini finger sander and I just sanded those edges. Now you would probably think, are you really sanding foam board? And the answer is yes, I am, and it works perfectly fine. So like I said, don't get discouraged. Next, I take these little stickers from Dollar Tree, and they're kind of like half bubbles, so I thought that it would just give it some dimension, and I put one all the way around each point, or I should say on each point, and then I ended up putting one right in the middle of the snowflake as well. So once I did that, then I went in with my white Waverly chalk paint, and I gave this little decor sign that was left over from fall. I have seen some for Christmas, so whichever, it doesn't really matter because I just went over it with some white Waverly chalk paint, and then I went over my snowflake as well with that same Waverly chalk paint. I then take this transfer from Chalk Couture and I cut off this bottom design, and then once I cut it off, I fuzz it with my fuzzing cloth. And the reason that you fuzz it is just so that way when you pull it up, it doesn't pull up your paint. But anyway, once I did that, then I just take some red chalk paste. On the top, I squeegee that off, and then I take my gold chalk paste, and this is actually shimmer chalk paste, and then I put that at the bottom, squeegee that, and then right in the middle where I want it to blend, I just take my finger and go in circles all the way down, just so that way the lines aren't like perfectly straight and they kind of blend together and look right. And then I just do that all the way around this little decor piece, the exact same way that I just did the front piece. I then take my mini chip brush and I dry brush all the way around the edges of my snowflake, and then in the middle I kind of just focus on the edges, and then I do go around those little sticker pieces just to give it some dimension. And I take my Arteza Gold, I think this is acrylic paint, but it's really thick and it's really nice paint. So I just do the same thing just so that way you can see a contrast. I had these letters from Dollar General. We're going to be spelling out Noel. So because they're red, I did go around the edges with my gold paint on the letters. So I knew that I wanted this snowflake to stand up in the middle. Originally I had cut a little piece in the middle so that the point of the snowflake has something to stand up and glue to, but I did end up filling that hole in because I want the snowflake to be the O for Noel, and the letters did not fit right on there. So definitely put your letters up to it first and then cut your piece. I did it a little bit more to the left, closer to the end, but before I moved it, I did take a square wooden dowel and I just glued that to the back of our snowflake. That way it had something to glue to and that it would stand up much better. So once I moved my snowflake, I then went ahead and I took my letters and I just glued them down right where I thought that they looked right. So I just ran a bead of hot glue at the bottom of these letters to get them to stick, and then at the end of the L, because it didn't have anything to glue to, like the E had, the N and the E had the snowflake to kind of hold it up. The L did not have that, so I did just take another piece of a square dowel and I did just glue that to the back of the L. And then I had these really beautiful, I think they're called pine picks from Dollar Tree. I cut off the one side where the little branches were, and then I glued them down, just because if I didn't, then the branches or the stems, whatever you want to call it, would cover up the lettering. And then right by the end I did glue those back into place, and then on the back I glued down two Jenga blocks, and because they were brown I painted it with my red Waverly chalk paint just to be sure that if anybody could see them then it would look finished. So then I just take these little red berries from Dollar Tree. I cut them off of their little picks. They're on these little wired pieces, so I just cut them off. I glued down 3 and then 2, and then I went over it with my gold acrylic paint just to give it some shine. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys, once it was said and done and I was done filming, I am gonna put this up on my hutch, and I was not really liking the berries too much, so I did end up pulling those off and making a simple bow and just gluing that bow to where the berries were. I then just took this little tree that I got from Walmart and I glued that to the edge, and then that was it. So high-end looking for such a small price. So I love to do all things crafty on a budget. If you are new here, Dollar Tree DIYs, farmhouse decor is my jam. So if that's your jam too, then I would love it if you would become part of the family by clicking the red subscribe button. And then you just want to tap the bell and then all to be notified every single time I upload. If you don't click all, YouTube may not notify you when I upload. I upload every Friday around 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I do chat with you guys live when my video goes up. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, I would love it if you would come over and follow me there. I do share some personal things as well as notify you when my video goes live. So definitely give me a follow. I'm trying to get to 10K so that I could do the swipe up feature. My information is in the description box. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy it. Share it with your family and friends if you think that they would enjoy it. So anyway, let's move on to our next project. Okay, moving on. So I take these little square wooden planks from Dollar Tree as well as 2 of the truck ornaments. I paint the square pieces in my white Waverly chalk paint. I set those aside and then I work on my little trucks. So I wanted these trucks to have a buffalo check style, I guess you can say, or truck color. So I do just take my disappearing purple glue stick and I just put glue around the parts that I want the buffalo check to be, which is just the truck part, not the tree and not the wheels. Once I have them glued, then I just lay it down onto my scrapbook paper. I then take my X-Acto knife and I just go around all those little details so that way I can cut it out. Again, this probably looks tedious, but it really wasn't too bad at all. And the paper just came right off. And then I cut around the part where the wheels are. I painted the wheels black. I guess you can hear my little munchkin over here with me. She was fussing all day and she just wants mommy, so I have her right here on my lap. But anyway, I paint the hubcaps red. I did want to also mention that I am so sorry for that stupid blurry part in the whole video. Sometimes you don't notice these things until you're editing. I guess maybe it was a piece of dust that's making it. I don't know, but I just wanted to apologize for that. Usually I don't have that, but it is what it is. Anyway, I take my Arteza watercolors. I love working with watercolors, but I just put some water over the tree and then I took the color that I wanted and I started with it pretty dark at the top, and then as you go down you'll get this beautiful gradient look, and then I just went in with some of the black and I gave it some dimension. I then printed off my computer home for the holidays, and I take my Arteza graphite paper and I just trace over that lettering. I did home on one, for the on the next, and then holidays on the last one. And then I went in with my Arteza paint pens and I went over that. I did black for the home and holidays, and then I used my red for the. After I did that, then I just alternated the colors. So for the one that I did red lettering, I went over with some ink Waverly chalk paint. I dry brushed the edges. Are you talking to him? Let him know. So we dry brushed the edges in the ink Waverly chalk paint, and then for the home and the holidays, I dry brushed with my crimson Waverly chalk paint. Next, I just take a piece of jute. I put some painter's tape around the top part so that I could bead the or string the beads. And then I started with 7 20-millimeter beads, and then I went in with 13 of 14-millimeter beads, and the 14-millimeter beads are going to be our handle. So once I had 13 on there, I just tied a knot. I pushed a 20-millimeter bead to the bottom of the handle, and then I glued down my home. I then pushed another 20-millimeter bead up. I glued down a truck and then pushed another 20-millimeter bead, and I just repeated these steps all the way until we got to the bottom, and then the bottom I left 2 beads. I probably should have put 2 beads at the top, but it was too late by that time, so I didn't worry about it. But I did just take some white yarn from Dollar Tree. I wrapped it around my hand 25 times. I then tied a knot at the top, and then once I had it done, I realized that I wanted to add some baker's twine, so I did just cut that off. I added some baker's twine, and then I repeated that step. And then I took a white piece of yarn, and then I just tied it around the top to make a tassel. I love the way that this tassel looks, you guys. I don't know about you, but I think that it just really ties it all together. So I then just strung through my jute to the top of the tassel. I tied a knot, and then that was it for that one. I did also just put a little bit of glue where the beads are, just so that way they would stay in place and then they won't move around on you. So that's a little trick that I've used for a while, and I just love the way this one turned out. I can never pick a favorite. Let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite after our last craft. So last but not least, I love this one. Like I said, I can never pick a favorite, but I did just run my knife along the inner edge, and then I went around the outer back edge to cut the back piece away from the frame. I then just took my chicken wire that I did get from Dollar Tree. Yes, that is right. You heard me. I couldn't believe it either. I got it from Dollar Tree. I cut a piece down to size. I then took my electric stapler and I stapled it down, and then I just cut off the excess. Once I cut the excess off, then I took my drill and a drill bit, and I cut I drilled 4 holes on one side where I wanted my little bells to hang, and then I just cut 4 holes on the other side. Next, I take my Kona stain and I just stain this entire frame around the outer edge, inner edge, and then the front edge. I did not worry about the back edge because you're not going to see it, but if you're more comfortable staining the back edge, then that's totally up to you. So for the bells, I wanted them to look rustic, so I did just take some Mod Podge and some cinnamon. This is a cool little trick that you can use to make things look rusty. So I did just randomly place my Mod Podge all around the bells, and then I just sprinkled my cinnamon. You could see my little helper helping me with the lid. Since I was holding the bell with my other hand, she loves to help me, you guys. My 4-year-old, she's my best little helper and friend. So anyway, I did just sprinkle the cinnamon on the bell once I put the Mod Podge, and I did just repeat that step for all of my bells. Now originally I was going to use all silver bells, and then I had a pack of red, and I thought that it would look cute to do 1 row of silver and 1 row of red alternating. So I did do that, 2 rows of red, 2 rows of silver, but I did just again put some painter's tape on the end of some jute. I strung it through the first hole. I then strung my bell and then strung it through the second hole. I cut the piece of jute, and then I just tied some very simple knots just to hold my little bells into place, and then I cut off the excess. I also tied a knot onto the other side as well, and you want to make sure that it's in the spot that you want it before you tie your knot off. And then once I had all my rows strung, I just added a simple bow at the top, and then that was it. Again, like I said, last but not least, I am so in love, and this literally cost me $3 to make, probably $3 and some change, because I didn't use the whole roll of ribbon or the whole roll of chicken wire. So anyway, thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. If you guys are coming from any of the other channels, I would love to have you, and I would be so grateful. So anyway, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy it. Share it with your family and friends if you think they would enjoy it. My little one is calling me, so I definitely have to go. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram as well, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you, Heidi, for including me in this Friend Hop Friday, and I will catch you guys later. If nobody has told you today, you are worthy, you are beautiful, and I love you with all my heart and soul.